The Fruitful Entrepreneurs Podcast aims to increase the visibility of female leaders in business, inspire a limitless mindset to build your own blooming brand, and leave a positive impact with a purpose-driven business. Welcome to the Fruitful Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Shelley Tilbrook, and today I'm joined by Mikeila Scheckenbach. Mikeila is the founder, creative director, and brand strategist of Bandit, who are based in Sydney but work with clients across the globe. Her bread and butter is understanding people's visions, their target audiences, and visualizing unique creative solutions that have substance. She's passionate about creating a studio that's genuinely fun to be part of, where her clients reap the rewards. So thanks for joining us on the Fruitful Entrepreneur Podcast, Mikeila. So nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me, Shelley. I'm excited to have a chat today.
Absolutely. We share a lot of common interests and passions, so I look forward to our discussion. But first, tell us a little bit about your background, what it was like starting your business and how everything fell into place.
Yeah, sure. So I studied graphic design and website design and development at university. So I grew up in Canberra. So I went to University of Canberra. I did my studies there, ended up doing a double degree, and I worked in-house as a graphic designer for a number of years. So this was about 6 years ago that I started Bandit full-time. But prior to that, I was freelancing for a good 3 or 4 years on the side of my full-time in-house graphic design jobs. And in Canberra at the time, I suppose the agency world was pretty small and limited in terms of opportunities. On one hand, like there weren't that many jobs going around, obviously, but then on the other hand, it didn't really have the culture that I was looking for. So I kind of found myself in this place where I didn't necessarily want to work in any of the agencies at the time. So I decided to opt for the in-house route and do graphic design there. And I had wonderful jobs, but it didn't quite itch my scratch for the creativity that I was looking for. Yeah. So that's where I found myself freelancing. And starting my business, it was quite a planned process, actually. It wasn't just a one day up and quit the job and off we go. I staged it out over like a couple of years, actually. So I gradually worked up my freelance clients, and I had like ongoing clients through that, and gradually stepped back from my full-time job. So I went down to part-time at a couple of different levels before actually making the move over to being a full-time business owner.
Fantastic. Yeah, certainly the transition from freelancing certainly helps when you're building a business, because you can get a bit of that regular client work coming in.
It's a little bit of a dipping the toes in situation. Sussing it out. Yeah. So it was good, actually. It wasn't too much of a shock going from the freelance to being, a solo business owner. Yeah.
Wonderful. So tell us about your actual business, what you do, who you serve, and how you help them.
Yeah, sure. So Bandit is now a branding studio. So we're based up in Sydney. We've got a team of 8. We're, in terms of branding, that's our core. So we work with businesses on developing their brand, strengthening it, brand identity work, brand strategy, and then filtering that out through every single touch point of a business. So we work across websites, packaging, signage, like anything and everything, really. So the clients that we work with are really varied in terms of industry and size. So we work with really small businesses, startups, and then existing established larger businesses as well. Industry-wise, we've got a strong focus on lifestyle brands in the health, wellness, fashion, beauty space. But in saying that, we do work across all industries. We're quite agnostic and we don't shy away from anything. I think it's actually really fun to go into an industry that you haven't necessarily worked in before, or a type of business you haven't worked in before, and be able to bring your expertise in and do something a little bit different in the space. So the businesses that we're really looking to work with are those that are looking to do something different in their category, who aren't afraid to do something a bit different and bold that hasn't been seen before in that space. So that's what we really get out of bed for every morning.
I love that. I have bold as one of our values, or courage, and I talk about bold, blooming brands that we sort of transform people's, whether they start out their business with a logo and then we turn it into a brand for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that about your business.
Yeah.
So what did the first 12 months look like, and how soon were you able to build a team?
Yeah, the first 12 months, it was me for a good 6 months on my own, just plugging away, doing that freelance life. That it still felt like that.
Yeah.
About 6 months in, I had a freelancer come and do a little bit of work with me. Mm-hmm. And then about 3 months after that, I actually hired her full time, and she's still with the business today. So it's been, a really nice journey to go on together. So the first 12 months, though, looked like doing a lot of small scale graphic design jobs. We weren't at that point a branding agency. We were more so, a graphic design company helping smaller businesses get through their day-to-day design work.
Yeah. And you look back at that growth and now see it was a particular client that helped you scale, or was it bringing on a team member and just having the courage to back yourself that you were going to get more business? Tell us about that sort of stage of growth.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think I really did take a risk in hiring the first team member. It was something I knew that I wanted to do. Did I have all of the work lined up? Not necessarily. I knew that I had at least a month ready to go to be able to bring her on, and then the rest was kind of me flying blind. But I had the drive and the ambition to make it work. And then if I think about key clients along the way, there's definitely been real turning points with the type of client that we've been able to bring on board and push out the work into our portfolio, which has attracted the next one. So in that first 12 months, it was probably at the 18-month mark we had a key client come on board that really changed the game for us, and that was Luna Bronze, who are a tanning DIY tanning company, and they're stocked in Mecca. So we got to do a bit of work with them, and we're still working with them today, which has been an amazing relationship that we've been able to grow. That was kind of the start of our getting some key Sydney clients, because prior to that, because of my background coming from Canberra, and the team member I hired was actually based in Canberra as well, we were still very much localized there, the work we had. So bringing on Luna Bronze and a couple of other Sydney brands really started to grow us up in Sydney, which changed the game for us. Yeah.
Amazing. And probably one of the most common things I see through my business coaching and helping people scale is the early days, they're not charging enough for their services. Does that ring true for yourself?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things when you're just starting out, you don't necessarily have the courage or the knowledge and expertise to be able to price yourself in the right way. So that's definitely been a massive learning curve for me. And I think it's, as a growing, evolving business, it's something that we continually need to be looking at and checking in with as well, just to, see how the business is going and if we are actually pricing ourselves right. Because as creatives, I think sometimes we can tend to undervalue ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I read that you talk about really wanting to have an enjoyable workplace environment. You've got a genuine desire to achieve that. And I think that's really important to optimise the performance of your team. So I'm interested to know, as a leader, what initiatives you put in place to really drive that positive culture in your workplace.
Yeah, well, honestly, that was one of the key reasons I decided to start the studio. Is I wanted a place where I wanted to go. Really, I created it for me because I wanted to work in a team of wonderful people who I genuinely enjoyed being around, while getting to work on really cool projects as well. So it's really important for me to want to show up to work every day. It's important for my team that they enjoy spending time together and working together. So I suppose the culture that I try to cultivate and breed is just one of really good relationships, having fun. Like, nothing we do is an emergency ever. Even though sometimes some clients will think that it is, but it's just really remembering, like, the work that we get to do is so fun. Like, it's so creative. It's so fun. We get to work with amazing people and to just have fun. In saying that, there are a number of things we have got in place as well. We run really flexible working hours. So about 2 years ago now, we actually trialed a 4-day work week. So we dropped Mondays from our work week. And that still remains primarily, but since then we've kind of evolved the way that we're doing it. And yeah, so I let the team choose the hours that they want to work, which is about giving freedom and flexibility. I think that's something that everyone wants these days. What else do we do? We've just recently brought in a couple of volunteering days, wellbeing day, a budget for training and development, making sure that people are, up there, upskilling and being a part of the industry community. We do a lot of social events together, celebrating wins together, just coming together. It's really, just about connection.
Yeah.
I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. No, because I find it really important that people really want to come to work, as opposed to feel like it's a job. It's more of, part of their lifestyle, part of what they do, part of their identity, and really passionate about, delivering great results. So it sounds like you're doing an excellent job at that for your team.
Yeah, trying and always trying to optimize as well.
Yeah, excellent. So as a business owner, what do you think has been the biggest challenge that you have faced? And do you think that was different being a female business owner or the same?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because there's so many challenges.
Yeah.
It's and especially, like, I started my business when I was 23 years old, so quite young. Not much experience at all, obviously. No experience in managing people and managing a team as well. So I think that's probably been one of my biggest challenges, has been just learning like how to build a team, how to bring people together, how to run a profitable business. Like, honestly, everything I've had to learn from the ground up. I don't come from a background where my family's got businesses or anything like that. I've really had to learn everything myself. I've been really lucky to have amazing mentors, and people guide me through the whole 6 years that I have done. But yeah, biggest challenge has probably been on building a team.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to that as well. So
yeah,
it is.
It's the hardest part.
Finding the right people and getting the right inputs, and I suppose managing the output product, the actual quality control as well. Yeah,
exactly. And every single team member I bring into the business, like, I take it really seriously. I'm committing. It's a commitment from me to you, and vice versa. But I don't just hire people on a whim. I really like to get to know them beforehand, and I'm only going to hire someone if I know that I can keep them, like, for a long time. So it's something I take really seriously because I care a lot about the team. It's like I said before, I created a business because I wanted to work with people that I really liked and to be able to enjoy our time together. So building the team is something that I hold very highly in terms of my priorities. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. In terms of when you started your business to what it is doing now, has the service offering evolved or what you position yourself? Tell us a bit about that evolution process.
Completely. It's completely different. Yeah, as I said, when I first started, I was doing it was graphic design work, really. So I was actually working with a lot in the property industry. So working with agents and developers on building up. It was a little bit of branding, but not much. We maybe did a couple of branding jobs a year, and the majority of it was collateral type work. I had a really strong vision to become a branding studio, so we morphed into that quite quickly. That's where we were doing, a lot more brand identity, started doing websites, packaging, that kind of thing. And then we've really kind of grown into that. So now, where we are 6 years in, we're rebranding to be the brand experience studio. So that's about really honing in on that brand piece. So brand strategy, identity, but then filtering that through every single touch point a business has with its customer, and down to intangible things too. So taking that through the way that the staff speak to customers and the text messages that they receive and the tone that all of that comes into. So it's gone a lot larger and bigger in terms of how we're looking at brand now. And that's something that we're really excited to do a lot more of and hone in on. We've had some really exciting projects where we've been able to apply that approach, and we're really excited.
Wonderful. Well, that sounds not dissimilar to a bit of the journey I faced as well. Yes, I do recall the days of doing lots of small graphic design projects and then evolved to do more branding work. So natural progression.
It's rewarding to look back, isn't it?
Well, I think part of it is you start off doing little bits and pieces, and when you really want to make the biggest impact for a company, you want to work on a bigger element that can change their whole business overnight just by changing their branding. So
exactly.
I find that my best lessons have come from mistakes. Is there any mistakes that you recall that have really helped you in the long run?
Oh, so many. There's been a lot of mistakes, and they're necessary, aren't they? I can recall, like a few printing mistakes that happen to all of us as graphic designers, or not outlining text on print artwork and it getting printed on a large scale where the fonts haven't come through, things like that, total flops. And then mistakes probably around like communication as well. I think that's where a lot of things in business get a bit tricky, is when the communication breaks down. So that's something that I really try to drill into the team and make sure that our communication is really up there, because when communication breaks down within the team or with the client, that's when things always fall down. Everything, in my opinion, can be fixed and be better with communication. I'm trying to think of like a specific example. I can't right now.
You've probably burned it out of your memory.
I definitely have. There's been a few, very few, but a few traumatic moments of mistakes.
Oh, no, I totally understand. So design, I'd love to talk a bit about design, and you and I could probably talk about this for hours, but I read that you take a business-focused approach to design and look to build brands that disrupt, flourish, and accelerate growth. So with that in mind, do you find that all your clients share that same courage and love the recommendations you're producing, or do you find there's a little bit of pushback or a little bit of hesitation and they want to scale back where you're sort of taking them? I'd be curious to sort of have that chat.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I a couple of years ago when we were really, moving into this kind of approach to design, we did have a lot of pushback. And I think that was because our portfolio represented a specific style and clients were coming to us for that. But in the background, we were kind of pushing in a little bit of a different direction. So I would say now 90% of our clients come to us because they just want to see what we're going to create for them. And they've seen our work, and that is really the style that we're leaning into more so now, of being bolder, very creative, always trying to do something different in that category. We don't want our clients blending in to their competitors. We really pride ourselves on giving them an advantage in their market and giving them an edge. So yeah, I'd say it's changed over the years, and more so than ever now, people are not so much pushing back on the bolder design ideas. They're more hungry for it. They've got more of an appetite for it, which is always rewarding as a designer, where you're not, getting asked to tone things down and bring them back to, I suppose, like the standard of what people are expecting. We want to create the unexpected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really important, that your messaging is attracting clients that are seeking that, but also your past work is illustrating what you can do. So that's attracting, the right clientele for you as well. But yes, I think there's been a big shift in marketers really identifying that attention is the name of the game. And if you're blending in, like you say, you're not going to stand out, you're not going to be any different, because there is a lot of competition. And so that's part of the work of branding is, identifying what's unique and different, and that is about being bold and courageous.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. There's new brands being started every single hour of the day. And it's so easy to start a brand these days. So yeah, for somebody who's going to be investing into their identity, my suggestion is don't be afraid to do something different. And you're exactly right. It is all about capturing attention, and you have to step aside from the pack to capture that attention. So yeah, it's really exciting to see people have the courage to do that as well.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know where you stand on branding and investing in branding for startups. So I work with a lot of startups and scale-ups, and I find you often get the startup coming to you saying, I need a logo design. And I'm like, well, we're more about the whole branding experience. So
yeah.
What's your thought? If someone listening is about to start a business, how much would you invest in the brand to launch versus get the business up and running and then invest in a rebranding down the track? I'd be curious where you stand on that.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different routes, and I'm really honest with people who come to me and ask the exact same question, like, how much should I be investing? Should we go the whole hog now? Should we just do, something a little bit smaller to get started? And I always come back to, well, what's the vision? What's the goal? What are you trying to achieve in what time frame? Because if you've got a big vision, and you're launching a new brand into the market that's filling a gap that doesn't, there aren't brands currently in that space, in my opinion, you need to go hard into that space and do the whole hog, make a big impact. And in order to do that, you do need to look at the whole brand, the whole identity, the whole experience, to be able to make that impact and gain those customers and the loyalty and everything that goes along with it. If you're starting a brand that's potentially something small, that's not going to be your everything, it's not going to be your, maybe it's a little side hustle kind of thing, then I don't think there's any harm in starting small. Pulling together a small identity, an online presence is essential these days, but I think for those types of clients, you don't necessarily have to invest the money into a studio like ours in order to test the market.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. That might be an unpopular opinion.
No, I think it's great advice, because I tend to obviously recommend getting market validity before you invest heaps of capital, and certainly before you start to scale with advertising. It's really about knowing your audience and having your message crafted and things like that. So it's a double-edged sword, because you don't want to have to rebrand once a business is taking off either. So
yeah, exactly. And for new businesses who are starting, I think, like, when we're looking at branding a business, ideally you're not going to change anything in the next 5 years. We're kind of building it with that in mind. It's going to get you through the next 5 years, hopefully longer. But, 5 years in, businesses change and evolve. We know that. So things are going to need tweaking based on the type of customer you're bringing in, sales, all of that type of stuff. But for brand new businesses, normally around that 2-year mark is when they're starting to find their feet, and they probably do need to be looking at things again and optimizing. So yeah, it's kind of like, if you start with something small around that 2-year mark, you're probably going to need to invest a little bit more into it. I think it's just having an idea of what that roadmap looks like.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that there can be that progression for startups in terms of what they're doing with their brands.
Yeah.
So I love the statement that you help brands become bigger, better, and braver. What does that mean to you?
Bigger, better, and braver isn't necessarily about growth and being bigger is better. It's more bigger ideas, better, being better businesses, like getting to know your target audience really well, or being sustainable and ethical, just being better business, and braver, being brave enough to take those risks and stand apart from the crowd and your competition. Yeah. So I think for us, it's like really empowering our clients to be brave, to think bigger, be better businesses. And yeah, that's really what it's about.
Yeah. With all the clients that you work with, what are the most common things you see as opportunities for them to improve their branding? Are there things that stand out, or things that people commonly get wrong in branding?
One thing I see a lot is following trends, following design trends that are of a certain time. So once that trend's gone, that business is left looking a bit outdated, and that can happen very, very quickly. So for me, or for us, and in branding in general, it's really about putting a strategy behind it and getting to the bottom of how you want the brand to be perceived in the market. So making sure you're really digging deep into the target market, but also the personality that you want the brand to have, the tone of voice, and how that comes through visually. So instead of just following trends of what's happening at the moment, what you're seeing, what you're loving, you need to really go in and do the strategy of, okay, well, that's fine for now, but when that's done, then who are we going to be? Are we just going to attach ourselves to the next trend? So instead of doing that, really getting to know who you are, who the brand is, and how that needs to live and be perceived in the market. So yeah, I'd say trends is one thing.
Well, that's very wise. For our female founder listeners out there, what 3 tips would you give them when it comes to branding? Any advice for female founders who want to make a better brand, a bigger, bolder brand?
Probably what I was just speaking about is like really doing a bit of a brand strategy exercise. So don't look at your competition. It's really important to know what's going on in the market, but I think it's also extremely important to put your blinders on and not be looking around you all the time, and just focus on what you have, what you want to create, what's important to you, what you're passionate about, and do a branding exercise based on that, not thinking about what's going on with your competitors. Once you're really clear on who you are, who your brand is, and how you want to be perceived in the market, then you can check that against the competitors and make sure that you've got some distinctions, and that can come through in the identity and the messaging and all of that as well. But yeah, I would say just get really clear and true on how you want your brand to be perceived and what makes you really unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think that's really good advice. And I suppose to finish up, is there anything special that you're working on right now that you wanted to share, or what's next for Bandit and for your business?
Yeah, we're hopefully going to be launching our own rebrand very soon. So we've been working on a bit of a refresh for Bandit in terms of repositioning ourselves as the brand experience studios. We've got a new website coming through. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. It's been a long journey. You would know anytime we try to work on our own branding, it takes so long because we're always putting our clients ahead of ourselves, of course. And in line with that, we've got some really fun and exciting projects that are kind of just on the cusp of launching that will hopefully tie into that as well. So yeah, we're really excited to be putting our new kind of selves out there along with some of the really exciting projects that we've been working on.
Amazing. Thank you so much. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
You can find us on Instagram at Bandit Design Group, on our website, banditdesigngroup.com.au, or you can always email us at hello@banditdesigngroup.com.au.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Mikeila. I really, we probably got carried away about branding, but
that was bound to happen.
Yes, no doubt. But no, I thank you very much for your time and for your amazing advice that you've shared today.
Thanks so much for having me, Shelley.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.